Well, it is official. One of my early predictions, one of my early sources turned out to be right. David Perdue has launched his gubernatorial bid in the great state of Georgia. This is not a surprise for me. If you don't know, I called this back in frickin' September. I said this before Trump's endorsement that Perdue was going to run. So if you don't know, David Perdue just announced he's going to challenge Governor Kemp for the primary, and then, if he does win, which he probably will win, the nomination, face Stacey the Walrus Abrams. So, David Perdue has been a fascinating Republican for me, and we're going to get into that in a little bit, but first, hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash like down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, and yes. So, David Perdue just announced his candidacy for governor, and guess what? Trump actually backed him. Now, this is a shocker because, Trump has been very iffy. Well, he's been either spot on or some random Joe in Massachusetts for his endorsement. So that's why it's been a 50-50 with his endorsements. He's been better lately, but always been iffy. But this would surprise me because if you don't know, he's been huge on, if you do not support electoral reform and all that garbage, you cannot get the endorsement. That nonsense. So that's been the issue with Trump. Yes, we need election reform, but making 2020 your entire platform, that just annoys people. But I think he's starting to finally realize, pick up on, you can't talk about 2020 24/7. So David Perdue is an interesting Republican for me. He is unique. Now, you get these people on Twitter that say, David Perdue, he can't win. He's not a conservative. He's left-wing to Brian Kemp. All that garbage. He's a leftist compared to Brian Kemp. There's seriously that Brian Kemp simp on Twitter saying, David Perdue's too left for Georgia. All that garbage. Well, can I just say this for a fact? David Perdue, in the Senate, was one of the best Republicans in the entire Senate on immigration. He wanted to cut illegal and legal immigration. He wanted to cut legal immigration in half. So this is the type of Republic we're talking about. And yes, there is some crap he did with the insider trading, but when you look more into it, that was he got kind of I don't know, it's hard to explain, but essentially he kind of got lodged in with Loeffler and the other losers with the inside trading. Did he do it? Probably, but not to the extent certain Republicans did. Loeffler and certain Democrats who are mysteriously nobody's talking about. But again, David Perdue has been always a fairly good Republican. He's actually very solid on the issues, and he's running. Now, he's going to win the nomination. Let's get that out of the way right away. He's going to win the nomination. Mostly because Trump's endorsement, once again, is probably going to carry him. And plus, Kemp isn't too well liked in Georgia by his own party. We'll get to that in a second. But David Perdue will be running on the fact that, hey, it's either me or Stacey Abrams. Or you have this rhino Republican in Brian Kemp who essentially is basically given Georgia to the Democrats. He's running on this. And by the way, that's a good platform because Brian Kemp, look what he's done to Georgia. He's done more damage than any Democrat could have dreamed of for changing Georgia. He never got rid of the film tax credit garbage. He, in fact, made it easier to vote. He did all this nonsense. He also shitted on Raffensperger. It's perfect. He's attacking the right people, saying Brian Kemp and Raffensperger are the two losers that are costing Georgia, which is pretty true, considering the fact that he's given the Democrats essentially a machine in Atlanta. I mean, look at the voting acts he signed into law. Just go look them up. I mean, it's just essentially voter machine after voting machine in Atlanta. It's ridiculous. And again, I'm not saying, the F word, but I'm saying that he's built a machine for the Democrats. It's stupid how dumb some people are saying that Brian Kemp is not going to win. All that garbage. He can win, actually. So, Georgia at a statewide level is interesting, to say the least. Now, in 2014, the governorship went to Nathan Deal. I forgot his first name, but essentially Deal won by around 8 points. In 2018, Kemp won by around 1.5 points. That's around a 6.5-point swing in 4 years. But remember, 2014 it was a red wave year, and 2018 was a blue wave year. So that's kind of interesting. And when you look at the trend map, again, blue is Republican. Outside of the Atlanta metro, it all trended Republican. And if you adjust for like the generic ballot, places like Cherokee, Hall County, even places like Henry County probably would have trended Republican. I mean, Newton probably would have trended. But that's whatever. So even in 2018, there were some places in the Georgia metro that actually probably trended like a point or two Republican compared to the generic ballot. So that is an interesting sign. The Atlanta metro is where the election will be won. Now, the only way that I could see Republicans losing this race is simple. Run Brian Kemp against Stacey Abrams. Abrams nearly won because of Fulton County. I mean, it went from 423,000 votes from 265,000 votes just in 4 years. And again, I know that's with population growth, all that garbage, but with this automatic voter registration nonsense they're pushing in Georgia, this could be higher, especially if the rural working class part of the Republican base in northern Georgia does not turn out. Now, in the 2020 senator runoff, we saw a little bit of a dip in Northern Virginia, the working class part of the state. Well, here's the thing, though. I don't blame Perdue for this. I don't blame Perdue for losing the Senate race. I blame two clowns in particular. One, Mitch McConnell. He is the biggest reason Republicans lost both these seats. If that turtle wasn't a complete moron and decided, screw it, we'll just give $2,000 checks, everybody. Why not? If you decided to say that, or hell, didn't say anything, just say fine, we'll just send checks out to people. He didn't just do it. He just said, vote for us and we'll do it. Republicans would have won both Senate races. In fact, I think Perdue would have absolutely wiped out Ossoff in that case. But the second reason is Loeffler weighed down Perdue by like 5 points. I mean, Loeffler lost by a wider margin than Perdue did, which I thought was going to be opposite, but that's what happened. I mean, Loeffler should have done significantly better than Perdue, considering the candidate she was running against. I mean, Warlock, I wouldn't consider that a very good candidate to run in Georgia, but it worked. I mean, they got very lucky with Georgia, but I do believe if it wasn't for McConnell and Loeffler's stupidity, Perdue would have easily won. I mean, he did fairly good in the metro part of the state. I mean, there's actually more votes in Fulton County in 2020 than there was in 2018, which is actually kind of a surprise. But again, you look at this, Perdue did a couple points better in the Atlanta metro. But that's with a very Democratic environment. I mean, at that time, it was like a D+8 environment in the early parts of 2020. I mean, the Republican Party was kind of just in shambles. People were not really wanting to turn out because they're like, the Republicans are just grifting, they're not helping Trump, all that stuff. Which, by the way, I don't blame Trump for this at all. Blame Perdue for all that. But you notice that, again, Perdue did pretty good in the metro considering. Just got completely weighed down in the northern part of the state with frickin' Loeffler. Now, the reason I do believe that Perdue will win the nomination is simple, right? Which we gotta get into real quick. Look at Brian Kemp's approval. I know this was like 2 months ago, but still. Kemp's approval within his own party is 70%. Only 70%. And people may say, oh, well, his approval is almost a 50%. All that garbage. Look who's carrying his support. Democrats. You know why? Because they're happy that, yes, the orange man got roasted by Brian Kemp. All that garbage. So these are the Democrats who are happy that Brian Kemp did absolutely nothing, or Raffensperger did nothing. I mean, look at the independents. Only 41%? That's not that good. It's pretty bad considering that, if his approval was around 50%, he should have had nearly 90% Republican support. And also, you go to the same poll, let's go to the gubernatorial race. Look right here. So Brian Kemp's at 57% without any endorsement, nothing. I mean, you got Vernon Jones, and they are clowns. This was before Perdue ran. If Trump endorsed Vernon Jones, who we all saw what happened, look at this. Jones instantly flips it. He wins. This is why if Trump endorsing Perdue basically gives him the win. It doesn't matter what Brian Kemp does. Perdue is going to win the nomination. immediately. He's going to absolutely crush Brian Kemp. That's how big Trump's endorsement of Perdue is. Now, there's one more thing I have to say before I forget this. Perdue's going to win. He's going to win the nomination, and I think he's going to win the state of Georgia by like 5 or 6 points. I personally think if he runs on good messaging, running like, we're going to fix elections in this state, get turnout very high in the northern part of the state, then places like Newton, Cobb, all that places, more, suburban parts. Attack Abrams for some of the stuff she said in the past. Like, yeah, you talk about Orange Man not conceding. You still think you're the governor of the state of Virginia or Georgia. That's why I'm saying that Perdue, if he runs a good campaign, he'll absolutely crush Abrams. He has a high ceiling. While Kemp, at best, he'll crack 51%. At the very best. That's why I'm saying you gotta go with Perdue here. He's the best candidate, best on the issues, and yes. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share it with your friends, hit the little bell, and yes. If you enjoyed this video, share it with your friends. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching.